What did you think of the Brandi Love versus Turning Point USA thing, Callum?
So I think it was like a Louis Theroux documentary or one of them where he was hanging out with porn stars. I can't remember who it was, but it was one about Brandi Love. And history is that she had been a stay-at-home mom. She'd raised the kids with her husband, and then they'd grown up, they've moved on, and then she was just at home alone. And then they were like, "I'm bored. Do you want to try having sex with other people?" And they did that. And then she became a porn star, and he sometimes acts with her, sometimes directs the thing. Very weird.
And how old was she when she decided to become a porn star?
After the kids had left the place, so I don't know.
In her 40s.
So, yeah, like old. So it wasn't like her kids are going to be bullied for, I've got your mom or something. They're grown-ups now. So it was quite weird because there's that aspect that I don't see people talking about at all, because it's kind of like, well, she's done the right thing, at least. Like, she's not like the immoral OnlyFans.
Well, not even that. She's done her duty and she's secured her life and relationships, right? So
the negative I see from people is like, well, she engages in porn's degenerate, it's degenerating the country, therefore she can't be involved in the conservative movement. I'm not sure I agree. I feel like it's a weird thing. Like, you can say that, yeah, she's bad for doing this, you can be moralistic around it and say, yeah, bad, and I could find agreements with some of those statements. But to say that she should be banished from the movement is, I think, not good. In fact, it's one of the embarrassing things about her response to that, is she's like, wow, you guys are all moralistic, you should be banned from the movement. It's like, no, yeah, that's pathetic. Like, both of these groups can exist within the conservative movement. The constitutionalists, who like to engage in hedonism, and then the moralist types. Both of those groups should be in there together, and trying to ban one of them seems strange to me. I mean, her saying that the moralist should be banned, and also some moralist saying she should be banned for it. But otherwise, I just think it's really funny, because I've never seen this before, and I wonder what's going to happen with the future of it. I know Ramvir's very predicting that MindGeek's going to become more and more conservative. And there's also the point of, like, he raised, which is, you've got all these alternatives to YouTube who are doing a good job, all the rest of it. But if there was one who could offer an alternative platform and everything would work, and is in a position to do that, it is actually Pornhub. Like, Pornhub have the capacity to be a conservative YouTube, well, to make a new site that's a conservative YouTube, essentially, or a liberal one that doesn't ban you for not being a leftist. So,
but the question is, like, still unresolved though. Is
what's she doing wrong?
I mean, and I think the answer, it depends how you define wrong, doesn't it? But like,
yeah, I'm just talking about the practical stuff.
No, of course. But like, you could say it's unconservative that she's doing this, and that's true. But the fact that she has all of the sort of traditional credentials all already under her belt is a question that is, like, opens the door to the problem. But and I think the Conservatives would have to default back to it's inherently immoral, because it's pornography, and as you say, it's inherently degenerative, and you're corrupting the youth elsewhere, which puts you firmly on the anti-Socrates side of things, which I'm not sure is that wise. Not only that, if she's a constitutional Republican and she's adhering to the constitutional principles of the United States, this is a conflict of sort of English classical liberalism versus traditionalist conservatism, and it's a fault line within the Republican Party that has to be analysed. I mean, you get this quite a lot, and this is why Tucker Carlson is constantly being attacked by the left, because they're calling him a white supremacist because he is a conservative. And of course, his conservative values also align with the Republican values, but I would like to know his opinion on this, right? Like, where would he fall? Because I think he would have to essentially place himself on the, I'm not interested in infringing civil liberties, but in my personal social opinion, what she's doing is probably wrong. But I don't think that's deserving of banishment. Yeah. It seems really stringent.
Like, my mindset is very much more in the practical sense of the things, usually. So when I look at that, it's like, yeah, banishment, stupid idea. Like, the rightists of the Anglosphere, because it's all the same struggle, let's be honest. It's all the same goddamn problems in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and US, UK. And this person, like, I don't know, like, what is the right? What is the right in the Anglosphere at the moment? That's the question. And all it is just anti-leftism, which is a thing, and she fits into that, if that's what the right is. There is no real opposition there is no real opposition to leftists that isn't that, from what I can see, which is a problem. You can have a whine about it and say that's wrong. We should have some firm conservative principles that we say this is conservatism and outside of it is not. So Brandi, love your owl or something. And sure, you can have that opinion, but on a practical sense, that's just how I see the theatre.
I think that's an exactly correct analysis as well. And the question is, okay, is the right in a position to be able to start discarding allies? And I don't think that they are.
I can think of worst allies in the rightist movement.
Oh yeah, but the point is, like, the question is not is pornography acceptable. The left is already dominating this argument. Yeah, of course porn is. Everyone uses porn. It's all over the place. It's free all over the internet. I don't think they're going to get rid of it.
Yeah, there's no real controlling it either.
No, exactly.
Like
So,
the Conservative government in the UK, I know the US doesn't really do this, have continuously tried to control pornography, and every time it ends in failure.
Yeah.
Because they have to come down to the solution of, well, we're going to have wanking licenses that you can buy in the news agency. And it's like, right, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So what else have you got? And they got nothing. So.
but but not only that, what I'm saying is it's a different paradigm that they would be arguing about. Because at the moment, the argument is America worthy of existence or not? Which is the left-wing position, no. And the right-wing position, again, the broad anti-left position is yes. And she obviously fits on that. And so the question is one of sort of moral and cultural purity, which obviously the moralistic conservatives are like, yes, of course, everyone has to agree with us. But every moralizer ever has always said exactly that, and which is why you guys can't find any concord with the left. And so I would say that it's probably wrong to kick her out, even if the most strict conservatives find what she's doing immoral. Well, sure, but then she could argue from a strict constitutionalist position that censoring people and deplatforming them, exiling them, is also wrong. So you could make a moralist argument from either way.
Although I have to wonder, I feel like this has caused more of a spark than it usually would, because you've got the other questions going on about just the other people in the rightist movement of the US. So, for example, Caitlyn Jenner turning up and becoming a Republican candidate.
Yep. And there are I've seen loads of conservatives going, yeah, see, this is real conservatism, transgender women. And they are, again, very hardline about it. And from their paradigm, they're not wrong. They from that sort of hardline conservative position, sure, you can't accept porn stars and transgenders. Sure, you can't accept them. But
you can't accept transgenderism as being true.
Yeah, exactly.
You could accept a transgender person, but the idea that Caitlyn Jenner is a woman is nonsense.
Yeah. But the point is, are you in a position to win any battles with that mindset? And the answer is probably no. You know, if the Republican coalition splits up, then the left is going to have easier victories in future. You actually need a united front on this, and so choose a principle upon which you can agree. And I would suggest that the constitutional nature of the United States is probably that principle. And at the end of the day, I don't think that you're going to, it's not going to, is it going to corrupt conservative communities if Brandi Love is doing her thing somewhere else and they don't?
What do you mean?
I mean, is it going to ruin conservatism?
Brandi Love, Ben Shapiro alliance. Yeah, that's essentially it, isn't it?
Basically.
Yeah.
I just think that
I
we're
think
not.
It's funny because I wonder what happens. I mean, there's the obvious point of just, well, what if it's not just Brandi Love? What if you bring in, well, not Mia Khalifa, she's an anti-Semite, but
Sure.
all the other porn stars are like, right, fair enough, because that's the interesting thing as well. The porn community, if we use leftist language, is very much anti-censorship. You can see this in the documentary of Louis Theroux, where he goes and meets a bunch of people who were sent to jail by the government for indecency. And some of the stuff they made then is now just everywhere on the internet.
Yeah, but the point is, this is like part of a conservative culture war, right? And if you both agree on the point of anti-censorship, then they get to behave in the way that they want to behave. But the conservatives also get to put the social pressure on these people that they want to put on. They want to say, look, that's immoral, that's degenerate. And as long as you both agree that anti-censorship good, as in First Amendment good, then you can both do those things, and the question will be resolved naturally, sort of, homogeneously, like holistically. Sorry, it'll just come out of the solutions. Did this serve people or not? Was it good for them? Was it in their interests? And people will realise. People will discover.
Yeah. Which is why it's a bit cringe of her saying, "Get rid of the moralists." So.
Yeah.
What do you stand on?
Yeah, exactly. And so I actually don't think that they should be kicked out because A, we're not in a position to, but B, I do think it would go rather against the kind of First Amendment principles that the Conservative Party does seem to broadly hold. And you want the freedom to be able to tell them they're degenerates, don't you? So they have to have the freedom to be able to be degenerates for you to criticise them. And if you guys are right, which honestly, I think maybe you probably are on the question of porn, then you don't need to act censoriously or enact,
the vice is evident.
Exactly. You don't need to use the reins of power, even if you have access to them, to prove this point. And if you don't need to do that, you probably shouldn't do that. So I wouldn't kick her out personally. I would leave her in there.
It'll be funny if she becomes a moralist, like she returns to where she was and becomes like a trad wife again.
You would, yeah. It'd be an interesting result.
Yeah, I just see what happens, I guess. I mean, there is no real thing like that in the UK from where I can see. Whatever.
At least not that gets any airtime.
There was a spike. There was a candidate for UKIP who was a porn star, and Nigel Farage was asked about this. Some leftist, for some reason, got all very puritanical about it and was like, he's a disgusting man. And Nigel Farage was just like, live and live, bruv.
Based. If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.